great game is overdue.
Not while I still breathe.
The box.
When we boarded that plane, everybody looked dead. Then 4 of them woke up.
Did these worms somehow induce some sort of state of hibernation?
Hey everybody, welcome to What the Flick, discussing The Strain, Episode 2, The Box. Alonso and I kind of hammered the writing in Episode 1. And it was much better, and at least far less egregious, I thought, in this episode. I didn't have as many moments.
They're finding the rhythm, and
it was a shorter episode, which helped. No, I will say this. If Corey Stoll weren't so good, the writing would bug me more, but he is selling it to a degree that I'm able to sort of gloss over, because his character's family stuff is, I think, so far the least interesting aspect of the show. But he's sort of getting me through it.
But like then he had a moment with the pilot, like the pilot bar scene. Like I thought that was a nice scene.
Oh, you mean the bar scene where the pilot's still in his uniform many hours later?
He hasn't been home yet.
Doesn't go to a hotel to clean up.
He has nothing left.
He has nothing left.
Yeah, he had to go.
I don't know. Like, you guys are talking about how you think the writing was better as this one. I think the dialogue was better. I thought the actual story structure was a mess this time. We've got this whole there's a whole epidemic, there's a whole plague. It's coming to New York City. We have all these things we have to worry about. All these people are trying to cover their ass. I'd better take time off to talk to my son.
Yeah, but if he
and
doesn't
then I
do
have
that,
to take time off to go to AA.
Oh.
Well,
he needs those moments, though. He needs those moments, though.
I feel like this is one of those, something's coming, it's coming up. But in the meantime, people maybe don't know that yet, except, he knows it clearly. But
he knows that there's a risk of a serious contagion,
right?
And it's his job to do that. I realize he's got his priorities divided, and that he was told you have a couple hours, you can go run off and do this. But from a momentum perspective, someone described this, and I think it was an apt comparison. Someone described this show as an Irwin Allen movie, but with vampires. Yeah. And I think that's pretty good. And that's one of the
I did
all
bring
the
up
characters
Airport last week. Yeah.
All the characters are very perfunctory. It's just one bullet point. Here's what we're going to do for the entire season, and yet part of that is just momentum. Let's get going. Let's get it going. And I realize this might be their last chance to get some character in there before it goes nuts. But I just thought it was very poorly done.
Well, I do want to say that this does follow the book pretty closely in terms of the setup. I remember it was a little bit sluggish getting through the first half before things took off.
That's encouraging.
Yeah, so I think that there's more stuff coming. But my only real issue with this episode, and this is becoming more of a guilty pleasure show for me, I recognize its flaws, but as a horror fan, I love the kind of visceral nature of it, and I love the little throwbacks to even Guillermo del Toro's Cronos. There's one moment that is a nice little tip of the hat to that. But there's one moment that I was kind of upset about, in terms of using the old, now you're off the show. You're off the case. Now you got to go and
turn in your badge and gun.
Turn in your badge and thing.
Turn in your
really, we're going to
syringe.
use that? I thought we were a little bit more progressive than that in terms of plot beats. But now he's going to go off on his own adventure and solve this thing all by himself.
There's a recurring thing in this episode about people who are covering their own asses, looking out for themselves personally when there's a greater crisis at stake. And that takes the form of the people who have never seen Jaws. And that also takes the form of the main character who's there's a crisis at stake. I'd better see my son.
Yeah, but
I
hear you on that, except that he was taken off the case.
Yeah.
And so they had very limited work that they could even do in that circumstance.
Well, one thing he could have done
and this woman who he loves and who he's trying to act differently toward told him to go do that.
I'll grant you that.
Yeah.
One thing he could have done was talk to the, the coroner, the city medical examiner. Yeah. An office which apparently can be entirely vacant for 24 hours in New York City, and no one will notice, even though the phone's ringing off the hook.
So he called, but he didn't think, hey man, drive over.
No one died in New York that day. No one dropped off a body. It's where is everybody? Nothing.
Yeah, that's a problem. That was a problem. And again, that was contrived, the notion of just calling them and not then following it up, because there's 206 zombies or whatever what do we call them? Just vampires?
They're vampires.
They're just regular old vampires. Yeah. 206 vampires there and a dead medical examiner, to say nothing of whoever else happened to be working there that day.
I did kind of dig the evil Nazi visits Armenian Jewish vampire hunter in prison scene.
But that was a very open conversation with two guards on either side, and one of them was going, what is he talking about? Destroying the world, you say? Doing bad things, you say?
It would have sounded completely crazy.
Yeah,
Like,
they would have been rolling
crazy
their
old
eyes.
guy.
There would have been like the two Romans
I
in
did
Life
like
of Brian going, ugh.
I agree with you. That was a good moment, though,
Yeah.
because we're getting a little bit of backstory.
We
and
had
some
two.
tracking.
We had to get back to the dialogue just for a second. We had two,
never gonna let it go.
and it totally goes with what Ryan said. There were two moments of, with all due respect, sir, like two full ones.
Commercials wig not getting any better, and
Yeah.
because I usually watch the show with the subtitles on, I am reminded every week of Stonehearts.
No, they even
Because
show
of
you the
you.
Stoneheart group
Yes.
like on the
Oh,
screen, whether or not the
Yeah.
subtitles are on.
But is there an
Stupid.
issue with it just being completely
It's
tacky?
stupid.
Or
It's
just
just-
That is like a 4-year-old.
Yeah.
I've written a story, and here's the bad,
Bad
guy.
Guys
God damn it,
Incorporated.
Alonso.
It's really cheesy.
Well,
it became an
However,
issue for me.
Once you've got Nazi vampires talking to like Jewish vampire hunters, like I
Yeah.
took your name,
Yeah.
like that, we're already going into we're alluding to a great historical tragedy, but we're really using that to make this
Now,
thing very arch.
I don't know
it's
that
already really
I
arch.
don't know that I want to know this from the book, but is this going to be one of those things where the Holocaust was really about vampires, like how in Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter slavery was really about
I
vampires?
do not remember.
Because I'm going to be pissed if the Holocaust was really about
I
vampires.
think you'd remember that.
I,
So
yeah,
I'm gonna
I,
go
don't,
with
I
no.
didn't like the book that much, and it was
Right.
like one of those like I gotta get through this. But this was like
Well,
years
maybe it was
ago
like an
it came out.
X-Men First Class thing where there was
Like,
like a little project off on the side
If
or
there's
something like
some
that.
vampires in the Holocaust, sure, fine.
Why not?
Just not the whole thing. I don't want the whole final solution to be about worms.
I want to talk about my favorite new character, Kevin Durand, aka John Goodman in Arachnophobia. the vermin hunter who will obviously I can just see him like killing all sorts of vampires, just like the crazy mouse hunting madman.
Is there not more to him? Is that we think just what he is? He's a.
think
I hope that's
more,
it. I'm
yeah.
sure there's a little bit more, but
Yeah,
like
there
I
is.
hope
I was
hope
reminded
that's
of
what we've
Donald
got.
Sutherland in Invasion of the Body Snatchers with the whole argument about is it a caper or is it a rat turd?
Oh
you know?
yes. Yeah, that was good.
Forgot about that.
But
we're-
capers
this is
for me
but-
forever.
But this episode, we're also getting all of the people who are on the plane going out into the general public. We've got the lawyer woman who is very annoying,
Right.
Leslie
but
Hope.
also isn't
Yeah.
noticing that her eyes are turning bloodshot, like
Yeah.
wickedly so. Like
And
her
wicked- gums are
hers were
bleeding and-
excessive. Well, that got her.
Yeah.
But the bloodshot eyes on all these people was a little like too.
They have,
yeah.
they
It's
haven't
nothing.
been.
It's
They've
just
been.
nothing.
They're
Yeah, they feel
stressed
fine.
out. They've been up for so long. You know, like there's nothing that a good 3 or 4 way can't cure. Like, I love that. Like his agent Regina King is responsible for bring me the ladies, the hottest ones in the
It
restaurant.
does happen, Bibbs. That
I
does.
know. I just want
I
Regina
bought it.
King
I
to do
love
it every
that.
time.
So the other touch that I love about these patients that have gone out into the public is the rock star who decides to immediately have a threesome thanks to Regina King.
Of course.
And
Saul's wig.
he doesn't just take erectile dysfunction pills, he snorts them. That's how
Because who's got
rockstar he
time?
is.
He's hardcore.
Really?
That's how rockstar he is.
Choppy chop.
That-
chop.
that was the more faster?
But that said, like that was so. Let's get to
to
some
right
of the
in the
things
bloodstream.
that I thought were good.
Yeah.
Which like, you know, him licking the blood off the floor. Like I was into that.
Yeah, that was
like,
the Kronos moment.
That's the Kronos moment.
Anything with the worms, I'm sort of into. The worms in the neck. I was
Oh,
like,
when we got that extreme close up too, they're really creepy.
Yeah, when it was
Yeah.
going for it, when it was
in the mouth.
intrigued, when it was just smelling the blood. He didn't even
Sandworms
drop it in.
from
But we
Beetlejuice
did have.
moment.
There's also another dumb contrivance that was so the guy who was supposed to transport the box back across the.
Yes. Yeah.
Coincidentally, his brother steals the clock from the
Yeah. He
Armenian
needs to start
vampire
tracking,
hunter.
yeah.
Like that's so that's how those two are going to
Amy
get
Adams
together.
are
again.
doing the soundtrack.
There are only 2 Latinos in New York City.
Well, 3. Their mom.
Oh, the mom, right.
They're right.
Yeah.
That's
and the
those
mom
are the
from
3.
Drag Me to Hell. She was the seance one.
That's
yeah.
fun. That's fun.
But no, I think, like you said, it's this whole Irwin Allen thing. It's all patchwork, and it's
Yeah.
all going to collide
Yeah.
at some point, and people will start getting
Yeah.
connected.
Genevieve Bujold is running down the street
Now,
with Charlton Heston.
Here's the
and-
question: are we talking like to Towering Inferno, Irwin Allen? Or are we talking like the Deadly Swarm?
When time ran out.
Yeah, when time ran out. Yeah, are we talking good Irwin Allen or bad Irwin Allen? Because they both have their moments.
Did you just mention Earthquake?
Yes.
Not Irwin.
Not Irwin Allen. I know. After it came out of my mouth, I remembered not Irwin Allen.
It's unbelievably not Irwin Allen.
Irwin-esque, but not Irwin Allen.
Irwin-esque, that's right.
Sorry.
Yeah.
No,
But were you
totally.
guys a little bit disappointed? I have a problem with when shows wrap up on a cliffhanger that's way too similar to the last cliffhanger in the episode before. You know, this episode ended with the little girl and the father. Last
Yeah.
episode ended with the little girl and the father. I want something new. I want something
Well,
fresh.
and
But I did love.
they both ended with somebody being eaten too. you
Yeah,
know,
but I
before.
did love the imagery of this little girl just peeking out from the bathwater and the tongue.
Also,
Yeah,
all
the-
of
the
but you're
underside
saying-
eye.
I thought that we were going to get. I forgot that there was going to be. There's a significant difference between the dead and the 4 survivors. But their 4 survivors are vampiric as well.
Yeah.
He went for. But so I thought she was just going to go for her father's neck. But
Yeah,
there was
like
that whole,
right at the end of the
there's
last
that whole
episode.
other
Yeah.
layer of the
We're
tongue.
not dealing with the little incision anymore now. Clearly, it's the giant.
Someone
thing.
gift that Alonso doing that.
I think though the father, I think he's going to be okay.
Yeah.
I think he's fine.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, totally,
Yeah.
totally. We haven't seen the last of him.
He'll have a Band-Aid on. You know,
Yeah.
that'll be
Well, I
it.
mean, that's the thing. Everyone's going to die in the show and then come back, except for Andrew Divoff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Divoff?
Yeah, Devoff.
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 Yeah,
Which they discovered, and they were like, well.
thanks for the splatter. I really needed to see that.
Wasn't that fun?
Of what?
I was eating
The
breakfast
guy
at
whose
the
head
time.
got exploded.
Oh, the previous episode.
Yeah.
I'm going to send you a list of the top 5 best gore, gore
Please
flicks.
don't.
And
Just
eat them
just
watch them at
Excision
breakfast.
and Cannibal
Please
Holocaust.
don't.
And
No,
it'll be a
no.
delight.
I thought Corey, we'll end on something good at least. I thought that he may have been going to the meeting may have been difficult for you, but I thought it was pretty good at the meeting. I thought that was fairly well written about how he's being told he's passive aggressive and actually aggressive,
Right.
which is a nice
rare
combo.
combo.
That's
A rare
good.
combo. I like that. And then he proceeds to give a very passive aggressive talk. So I like that. I
The
thought that was
speech
good.
itself was good. I'll
No,
give
the
it.
speech
Yeah.
itself was inconsequential because it was everything we already knew. He was just voicing everything that we already picked up from character traits and everything that we've been seeing play out in his life for like the last episode and a half. So
Exactly
I thought
why I
that
thought it
was
was pacing problem. I thought it was individually well written,
Yeah.
but in context, I don't need this right now.
Right.
The story can continue.
Yeah.
You have built a story based on plot, and you're stopping it to do the character.
Right.
I like
You
it.
need to dovetail them.
I liked it because it was a breath. I
Yeah.
don't mind a breath, and it was funny. And I thought.
And by the way, Diane, when you're sitting around drinking white wine and listening to Mrs. Goodweather bitch about Mr. Goodweather, Mr. Goodweather is out there trying to save fucking lives. So that's why you didn't remember your goddamn name. Shut up, Diane.
yeah.
Get it.
Yeah.
But listen, I like the show. I think it's flawed. I'm like defending myself because I know some horror fans will be like, Ron, you're like tearing it down, But
Yeah.
no, I think it's very efficient. I think it's a cool guilty pleasure creature feature. It's not as smart as some of the stuff that we're getting on Hannibal, but
Yeah.
it has a place.
I'm
There's a place
enjoying
for all
it.
of
It's a little silly, but I think there's a place for that.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not distracting.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just part of a tapestry of what they're doing, this kind of dumb, fun, vampire broad storyline. And sometimes it's just like people would go to the city medical examiner's office.
Need more 55-year-old scientists. That's who they need to call in.
I'm
ageist.
I'm
Ben
not.
Mankiewicz.
I'm not
Yes.
out yet, but I definitely want to see. Like the mayhem had better be worth these not particularly interesting first.
Exactly. If
episodes.
this thing picks up after this was like the breath of fresh air. It's like let's all take a moment, calm before the storm, and then it's about to hit the fan.
And Blade shows
That
up.
would be awesome. Then Blade
And
shows
then
up.
Blade shows up.
Yeah. Wait, TV Blade or movie Blade?
Movie Blade.
Okay, then yeah, that's gonna be awesome.
Thank
So-
you.